What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming back. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. This podcast episode features Curtis, aka Curdy B, the owner of Jump Theory, a jump rope company based out of Texas. This was an awesome conversation. I really appreciate Curtis coming on to the episode and sharing his knowledge of philosophy, his jump rope story, and his knowledge of jump rope. It was a really cool conversation. I know you'll enjoy it. So let's get into it. All right. We are rolling. Hey, Curtis, thanks a lot for joining me on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm looking forward to talking with you and learning a lot about your story and your background.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the first thing when we get into it, first thing that I'd like to know is what's your background with jump rope and how did you get into jump rope?
So the short answer to this is that I saw a guy at the gym and he was like he was a boxing kind of guy. And what he was doing, like, it looked cool. He was really fit. And I really I kind of was like, I want to be a little bit like that guy. So that's what got me started. But when I really think back of even before that of really made me start is I'd see people here and there jump rope and I always really been into it, but I was kind of afraid to do it. Or I saw this one guy just not doing a boxer skip. He was just jumping. He wasn't messing up. I remember, and this is 2 or 3 years before I even started, I went and picked up a rope and then I tried to do it 2 or 3 times. And I messed up and I was like, no, then maybe this isn't for me. I was really, the gym and messing up, it's I get why Planet Fitness has the judgment free zone, right? Because everyone's afraid to mess up because I don't know, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But as I take it back even more, as I learned a lot about myself, growing up, I used to do break dancing and I used to really be into physical stuff and taking that all, and honestly, the biggest thing, if we want to even fast forward a little bit, if we eventually do, yeah. I really always want to be in karate. And when one of these guys, he said something about the way I jump was a lot like Tai Chi. It's that makes a lot of sense because I try to move the energy of the flow around how I jump. I like to keep it going and never stop. So it really just starts with from the beginning since I was a kid, karate all the way to just dancing to really just wanting to be physical. That's what got me started jumping. And yeah.
No, that's good. So what was the first jump rope? Do you remember the first jump rope that you used when you first started?
Man, yeah, there was 2. There was one, I ordered one speed rope off Amazon for $10. No, I ordered 2 of them. Ordered one for me and one for my girlfriend at the time. And I actually still have hers in a package and stuff in my garage that she never even used. But it was a speed rope, and I remember using it, and I didn't like it. It was one of the 90-degree angle ones. And then the other one I had was, I think I got it from Ross or Marshalls or something like that, and it was weighted handles, and just kind of PVC or licorice rope, and that's what I started with. And then literally I getting new things. So within literally a month, I had ordered my first cross rope. And I got the old school, I called them nunchucks. So the big fat handles.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I spent money, I felt on jump rope. And I loved them actually. They're really great to get started.
Yeah, the cross rope is good. I've had mine since 2018 and they are still holding up. Haven't seen any real state of decline in them at all. They're good quality ropes.
Yeah, I really like the product. I remember I really got interested in cross rope and I really wanted to work with them, kind of how the jump rope dudes did. And I found their CEO on LinkedIn. His name's David Hunt. He's a really inspiring guy. I messaged him and told him hey, I'd love to work with you. This is kind of what I want to do. And he was the nicest guy. He was willing to work with me. He wanted, I realized that as much as I wanted to work with the company, I really just wanted to start my own thing.
Yeah.
and like, but like, to like, he was just still open to help me do stuff. And it was really cool. But
Yeah. Dave has been on this podcast and he got a really good response from people who watch this channel. He's a really honest, authentic guy. And it was great talking with him. But tell me about Jump Theory and how you came to start that and what your motivation is behind that.
yeah, man. So the Jump Theory to me is just like this long, like I had mentioned, like breakdancing and like just physical fitness. Like Jump Theory to me is like do something that you're passionate about. Like what got me started was, you know, I started jumping rope, kind of fell in love with it, and then really just started feeling like, man, I don't think I've ever felt this like much passion about something in a long time. I want to do something with this. I want to like do something with this energy. I didn't just feel like this not for any reason. So I mean, that's when within that point, at some point, you and I connected for the first time, and you told me about like Alibaba.com and how like there's plenty of people who'd probably work with me. And like I never even heard of that. I was trying to figure out like who should I talk to? Like where should I go? Like and like part of me was like really afraid. Like I wasn't sure who to message or like what to do, because like almost similar to like when you first want to start working out at the gym, you don't want to like look stupid, I guess, really. Not that it mattered, but like I ended up reaching out to a bunch of people on Alibaba and like eventually got that started out. But like, I guess we bring it back a little bit to the conversation. Like the question you asked was, what got me started was like, I just wanted to channel the passion I had for jump rope into a thing that like was more than just like what exists for jump rope today. So like, as far as I know, we have like Rush Athletics, we have Cross Rope, there's like all these different like little like jump rope companies or like people that support it, but there really isn't like that much of an identity behind jump rope. And like, that's kind of what I want to help bring or facilitate to the community. Cause like Rush is like a style of person or like a way of doing things. Then there's like Cross Rope, which is just like kind of for everybody. And it's like really fitness driven. Then there's like Coach Chris, who's like, he's like a genius in his own way and he has his stuff. But like, I can't help but think of, I want kids to grow up and like have jump ropes in their backpacks. Like I want them to be like after school, them like challenging each other, like playing horse with jump ropes, not basketball.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like I want it to be like something that's like kind of like it's something we identify with, like I want kids to get in trouble for jumping rope in, the halls,
Sure.
But I think part of doing that, because we have the internet now and like Instagram, it's like to build the identity, right? Like how can we get this kind of thing, how do we get it visible, really? And so Jump Theory for me is getting jump rope more visible. Because like I wish I would have known about jumping rope going up. It's such an exclusive thing. Like I had no idea. Like it's like the coolest thing in the world to me. It's like intellectually stimulating or like physical. Like there's just so much going on, and like you don't need a team to do it. Like it helps to have a team. Like you could literally learn on your own. Like instead of playing video games, I would have just done this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember I was jump rope for hardback when I was like 6 or 7, but I didn't truly understand what you could do with a jump rope until I saw Buddy Lee for the first time. And that's when I realized, okay, you can do much more. I mean, it's okay to just do the single bounces, which is fine. You'll get in great shape doing that. But watching him unlock Pandora's box for me, being able to see what the possibilities are, because the possibilities are endless. There's so many combinations and permutations out there. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Like, so Buddy Lee, man, it's funny. He's just like, he's the coolest guy in the world. So I remember I saw a video of him like on YouTube, and it was super blurry. And it was like, I'm going to show you how I trained to be like the best athlete in the world. And he started just doing all this ninja stuff. I remember I posted my first like jump rope video on Instagram, and it was like, one day I'll be a ninja. Cause like, it was just like completely inspired by Buddy Lee. But like what Buddy Lee like made me think of is, how like there's people, there's like people who meditate who are like floating around with like all these auras around and spinning. That's just like a jump rope. He's mastered it, that like it's just like spinning by itself and he doesn't even do anything. It's just like, it's like his complete aura. It's just like he's kind of like ascended the physical realm. But yeah, he's like the biggest inspiration to me too. So
yeah, he is. I know which one you're talking about. I think it came out in like 2009, and I think that's the first video. The one you're talking about is the first one I saw, and I thought he was gonna just do some regular speeds type stuff. I didn't expect anything extraordinary, and then I saw it, and I was like, "This is absolutely amazing! You can't even see the rope. He's doing all these things, and you know it's mastery because he's not even thinking about it. He's done those things so many times that it's just second nature to him. It's like tying his shoes."
Yeah, to your, and like, yes, and then even like, you don't see the rope, right? Like, it's even to this day that I like know the tricks that he's doing for the most part, but like I still don't see the rope, and that's like what's incredible when I see other people do stuff. Like, granted, part of I think what he does is like he's so good that he does it with speed, and when I watch a lot of other people, like, this, it's just different though. But like he just makes noises and then things just happen. It's really funny. And like, it's a performance. It's literally just like a complete performance.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. I've been following your Instagram for quite some time now, and you can do some pretty complicated and impressive moves and skills. Walk me
Thanks,
through
man.
what, yeah, absolutely, man. It's pretty, I've been trying to learn some of the things that you're doing on there, but walk me through the process that you undertake to learn those skills. What does that look like?
Yeah, of course. So I like to, I break everything down. Like, everything is like a system within a system within a system. And it's like, that's kind of how I view jump rope tricks. Like, and although a lot of this is intuitive for me, like I'm really seriously, I'm not the best at saying that the name of this trick, like an Awesome Annie is, I might even get like, it's like a Kruger and like a leg over. It's like, it's two different tricks that you can do continuously. And so like when I learned my Awesome Annie, I didn't learn the tricks. I don't like really learn anything like maybe how like you're supposed to be, like how you're taught like through like a coach. I just watch people do it, and then I just like literally just continue to like break each part of it down. And then as I break each part of it down, I'll work on like one part until it feels right, and then I'll advance to the next part until it feels right, and I'll work on them individually, like one movement like this, one movement like this, and then I'll literally just make it to where like each movement feels right, and then I'll add them all together. And once I add them all together, I'll just see how that feels. And then as I see how it feels, I'll see where like I'm weak, and I'll go back to that one movement and work on that. And then I'll put it all together again. So like, I'll take different parts of what I think's right, work on just that movement. And then and the cool thing about like when you work on like those individual movements, those little like movements just become other tricks because it's all connected in some way. And that's what's super fascinating. Like, for instance, I posted something the other day, and it was just me literally just jumping in a circle forwards and then backwards. And like the idea of like just literally jumping in a circle and doing a 360, like when you're learning to just like do different tricks at like different angles, like it'll help. Just if you could do a regular bounce at like 9 o'clock, as you're turning, you might need to land a regular bounce at 9 o'clock to land some trick at some point. So like the fact that like, you've built that neural network where you know what it's like to be at 9 o'clock versus like 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock, like it kind of helps you all together, like just land tricks or just like make things be more fluid, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. The systems approach, I think, is a great approach to learning anything, but especially learning something where you're having to create. It's basically what you're doing is you're creating a habit, and the only way to create a habit is to keep doing it over and over again, especially when it's uncomfortable in the beginning. Because I can tell you, I'm not the best at tricks at all, but learning something new is never comfortable in the beginning. You're going to mess up a little bit. And so what do you do to get past that initial stage, especially when you're learning a harder trick?
This is interesting. Yeah. So like there's a couple things I'd like to talk about. Like in one regard, I kind of go with what feels most natural. And that tends to be like the easier things, right? Because it feels more natural to like follow your instincts. And I do that a lot. However, when things are difficult, it's probably not as natural to me. So I have to work harder. So like what I'll do is work on those like a little bit and then reward myself with things that feel a little bit more natural. For instance,
okay.
I remember Coach Chris, I think Always Gotti, he made a group, I want to say a year or two ago. And I feel like this is when jump rope first really started getting at least a little bit bigger in my mind. And he invited like Zach Strum was in the group, Coach Chris was in the group. There's like a bunch of people in the group. And I remember like Chris was just someone who always like, I feel like I never even really talked to Chris that much, but I feel like I just like get who he is. And I just like respect him a lot. And he always said something about like not doing side swings and to work on like leg wraps. And leg wraps are something like I never worked on because like side swings are just easier to like, when you do a trick, it's easier just to side swing it and then move on to another trick. And then I remember, I don't know if it was Chris who said it or someone else, but it's easy to develop bad habits if you continuously, and the whole bad habits is like really interesting, right? Because like if your narrative is to become like a professional jumper, you don't want bad habits. But if you're just trying to jump for fun, it doesn't really matter. And I think he even addressed that in one of his like posts at some point. But what I think he was getting at was like, do a trick and then learn to like continue the trick with the leg wrap, or learn to continue it with this other thing. Because as you make one trick go to another trick, that's not a side swing. It could literally be anything else. You'll just start to develop your whole array of tricks even more. And to the point of like the original questions, like when things are hard, I literally just digest them like, okay, I'll work on a leg wrap for like 10 minutes and then I'll work on my side swings for like 5 minutes. And I'll always try to like reward myself with something that like I'm a little bit naturally good at, so I don't feel like, because there's been times where like I'll try to like, I'll work on like right now, what am I working on? Oh, so backwards EBs. For a while, they were really difficult for me. And I just gave up on them for a year.
Yeah.
I didn't even try to do them. I worked on like the backwards EB, like swing kind of thing. Jimmy does it a lot, or he's one of the first people I saw who like did it really well.
Yeah.
So I worked on that and eventually I moved it. Now I could finally got my EB, my back EB is down, but like I literally like I gave up on them for a little bit, worked on other things, and then came back. I always try to work on like 2 to 4 tricks at a time. And like I'll just kind of run through them. And as I get better at like the individual movements, it all translates. Like it's really cool. Like, and I know Mike Fry, he always says like, and I agree with him, like do something forwards, do it backwards, learn it right, learn it left, learn inverse, learn like the more you like just take the basic, just the super simple basic stuff, and you learn it like in a whole circle. It'll like when you go to work on like some other trick, it's a little bit easier to do. Like it just, you have like a neural network in my, like how I do it is like you've already created some other way where like you think you could land it, so it helps do it.
Yeah, you can. That's interesting. So I like what you're saying. So you're saying that you can tap into that knowledge. It's already there. It just exists in a different way. But instead of having to create a whole new path, you can tap into that path that's already started and you're not starting from the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. And like, even on that note, like, I remember I always reference this in my mind. Adam Jumps, I think I'm not really like familiar with a lot of the jump rope community. Like I know them, like I know celebrities. I'm like, this guy's awesome. And I remember Adam, he posted something that was like, be creative with your mistakes. And I remember thinking like, that's all I ever do. Like, that's like my philosophy with life. I don't think that there are mistakes. I think it's all about how good you are at making how you fall look like it was a dance move.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
when you mess up, like, how are you good at just like getting back up kind of thing, right? Like, how do you turn it into something really cool? I literally just think that's what life is. Like, if you get really good at making something that looks kind of weird, cool, people eventually are going to be like, oh, I want to get on that. But anyway, like he said, be creative with your mistakes. And so then I started really like trying to feel like the flow. I got really into flow for a little bit. Like, how you just, when you mess up, every time you mess up, your rope's like going somewhere that you hadn't anticipated. How do you follow your rope and turn that into some other trick? And like, I think like the Mamba that you do, like when you throw it and you miss the catch on one hand, it's going to go back this way. And then you can throw it back this way. And you see the people who are going back and forth with the Mamba. And I learned that just by messing up continuously. I'm sure a lot of people did.
Yeah.
So if you just continue to learn to mess up creatively, you'll be able to do all the tricks.
No, that I've actually never heard anybody put it that way, and I definitely agree with that. That's a really great point. Being able to look at something, and I mean, it's all about looking at something and trying to make the best of it and turning it into something rather than it's about how you respond, right? And
that's life in my mind. It's hard to
yeah, man. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. But I never heard anybody put it in the way of using a mistake in jump rope to be able to create something new from it that you've never done before. That's awesome, man. Much respect to you on that philosophy. That's really outstanding.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we've been, yeah, absolutely, man. We've been talking about you mentioned some people that influenced your style on the jump rope space, but who are the most influential people in your life, both from a jump rope perspective and from a general perspective?
I'm pretty rebellious. It's pretty funny. So I feel like some of my biggest influences are because I want to go the other direction.
Sure.
So like I have like growing up, I had like a lot of, not like a rigid household, but like I come from like people like this is how things should be kind of thing. And I remember thinking like, oh, that's cool. Like I learned a lot from like the construct of like following through, not making mistakes. This is the right way you should do things. That like the rebellious side of me in turn created that other philosophy that I just mentioned, which is be creative with your mistakes. Like, how do you make it? It's almost like rhetoric. How do you turn like these rigid ways that like you live your life into something creative to where like it's something new? And you can get really good at those new things because that's, I don't know, that's the forefront of like what we're all trying to do. But to your question, sorry, like one of my uncles, all of my uncles were like probably like my biggest influences growing up. My uncle Paul was a firefighter. He was a big influence. My uncle Brad, he's the one who got me into fitness. I originally moved from New Orleans because of Hurricane Katrina to Austin, Texas. And I was a fat kid. Maybe that's not the right thing to say, but I was overweight. I was like 230 pounds. Then I moved to Austin and I was like 16. He just showed me how to diet. Like he put me on a diet plan, and to me, it just made sense. I actually wrote a paper in college about like the night of faith and this whole like existential thing. But I just like listened to him, did it, lost 80 pounds in 8 months. And
wow.
I didn't really have any idea about nutrition, but I knew how to follow directions, or at least, and I've gone back and forth a lot, right? Like I've gone up in weight, I've gone down in weight, and now like I've finally figured out like what works well for me and what doesn't. Like my body, I kind of feel like it's this awesome, like almost like it's like a car, right? We have this really cool like body that continuously repairs itself. So one, I think it's really cool for us to take care of it, but also experiment with it. Like we're taught that we should eat certain ways and do like the right things, but I think it's fun to kind of push the norm a little bit. Like lately I've been on the ketogenic diet, and it's just been phenomenal because I like training my body to use fat as an energy source. And like My girlfriend now, when I met her, she hated the keto diet. She was saying how it's the dumbest thing, or she might beat me up for saying that. But like, she had a lot of like, not the best thing to say about it in some way, but I had done it before and I liked it. And I just like kind of like experimenting with my body just to get like my own opinion on how I work, as opposed to just following and figuring out and doing what other people say. I'm like a big advocate of like, go do something that feels right to you, catalog it, like whatever like feels right for you is probably like the best thing for you. And I've diverted from what you asked originally a lot, but influences.
Oh, this is
I'm
good,
sorry.
man. No, that was good information. Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
But influences, and like, man, my biggest influences, they're people who aren't really probably alive. Like I got my undergrad philosophy. So like, if anyone knows me in personal life, ever like watches this, like I'm always being like, let's talk about Plato and Aristotle. Like I really like the old ancient Greek philosophers. But there's who else? So Ryan Holiday, he's a big guy in the Stoic community.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
a big
he's
fan
fantastic. Yeah.
I like Ryan Holiday a lot. I'm a big fan of like, I think we talked about this a little bit last time, like extreme ownership and the idea, like I really love like the idea of just like not playing victim. There's an interesting like conversation to have about that in general though, which is don't play victim, but what do you do when you literally are a victim? How do you like, because there's been plenty of times where I never play victim, but it doesn't mean I don't feel like I am.
Yeah.
And that's a whole like interesting psychological conversation to have for another time. But influences, let's think. I mean, honestly, Mike Fry, he is just like hands down my biggest influence. Like his style, what he does, it's just like, he's like my biggest influence for sure. And then probably like Nate's like, I remember the first time I saw Nate, I was like, man, how is this guy so good? Like, I really like Nate. But I want to see like I just want to see Nate do more than tutorials. Maybe I haven't like stumbled upon his stuff yet. I haven't done a lot of work, but like, I want to see Nate like let loose and do like a cool flow and just like blow my mind. But like on that note, one of the guys who I jumped rope in person, he's from Houston and his name's Devon. And man, he has like a flow. Like when we met up, we could not stop. Like our energy just worked. And he's probably like one of my biggest influences for jumping too, because he just like, he's one of the few people who I feel like him and I are doing the same thing with our jump rope like journey in like complete opposite directions, but in similar ways. Like he can do stuff that like I don't think even a lot of advanced jumpers can do. And like he just like happened to stumble upon it because he like follows his mistakes kind of thing. Like he really feels it and then he does it. He also drills stuff too, I would say. But we'd have to get him on here. But you should. He's really good.
Yeah, I've never heard of him before. Yeah, we can definitely be good to link up. That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I could talk all day. I feel like I need to give shout outs to people. But like Active Eli, I mean, there's been a bunch of people who've been supporting me a lot with jump theory. I'm like really new to this and I'm like trying to figure out how to like build a business, like market, like do all these things. And I'm doing it like by myself. I'd love help. So if anyone wants to help me, please go ahead. But yeah. I've had a lot of support and like I like rope jumpers. She's in Dallas, Barbara. She's been like popping off lately. And like I love her. She there's been tons of support and I love that.
No, that's good, man. The point you had about most of the influences not being alive, I definitely can relate because the Stoics, yeah, that's good you brought that up, man, because I'm a follower of that philosophy as well. Do a lot of reading of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. Those are the three main ones. And then also Socrates is a great one. He's got some of the best wisdom out there, man. But I didn't know you were a philosophy major, so we'll have to talk another time about philosophy because I'm a big reader of philosophy too, man. So many good thoughts, good thinkers out there from the past. There's countless numbers of them. Yeah.
100%. I could talk all day about that. That like we need to have that conversation, because like Stoicism itself is like, I have really awesome opinions about that. I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I like the way that Ryan Holiday, he's another guy that I follow. So it's good you brought it up. I think he's actually lives in Austin, if I'm not mistaken, too. He lives in that area. I think he's got a farm out there somewhere. But I read a lot of his stuff. The Ego is the Enemy is one of the best books I've ever read. That is such a good book. And the way that he can write about those three that I previously mentioned and put it into today's terms and apply it in today's terms so that people can go out and apply it themselves is just excellent.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we need to have that talk about him and that, because I want to show you how that's all related to jump rope. That's like how my mind works. It'll be fun.
No, you should tell me about that, man, because we got a lot of time, and this is a jump rope podcast, so go for it if you're
okay.
up to it. Yeah.
So like Stoicism in a lot of senses is like maybe I shouldn't say a lot of senses, but I think of like, are you right-handed or are you left-handed? Are you introverted? Or are you extroverted? Like whatever you identify with, Stoicism is like, hey, go the other way, because you're going to learn the most about your life by going the other way, which is also why when I translate it into jump rope, because you learn it forwards, you learn it backwards, you learn it right, you learn it left, you learn it straight, you learn it inverse. So like you literally, like for me, jumping rope is like, how do you train yourself like for physical agility and mental agility? How do you learn to pivot? How can you take something that seems right or wrong and change in your mind to where you can see it as right, wrong? And this gets into like a whole conversation about relativism, et cetera, depending on like how you want to do things. How I just like, for me, Stoicism is like, how you just see the other opinion to where you could grow. Like, and that's all very individual, right? So it doesn't matter if I see something as right or wrong. If I could take this situation and see how I can grow from it, regardless of like my predispositions, then I'll grow from it. And by growing, it'll change all the other things I used to think about in my life. And I think jumping rope is like a really good way to train yourself physically and then tie those into other things in your life mentally. So yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
No, that's great, man. That's great. That's very deep. I enjoyed listening to that. The one thing I like about it, and I think it might tie into what you were saying, is I really love the fact that whenever you do mess up with jump rope, you actually trip, which is an analogy to life. I mean, you trip a lot in life as well, but with jump rope, you're actually tripping over something when you mess up. And so the way that you respond to that, whether you redo the move or you just keep going and you don't get down on yourself and stop, that's something that I try to internalize as well.
Yeah, I always like, I'm a big fan of feedback, right? Like
Yeah.
part of what's made this is an interesting conversation to have about, like, we're like the most connected we've ever been with the internet in today's world. So we have a lot of feedback from people sometimes that like we don't really want or need, and that causes other issues. But like, if you like, for instance, like if you're trying to grow a business in today's world, the quickest way to grow is to just like get feedback, right? Like how do you reach out? How do you talk to your customers? How do you connect with like, the world at large to give you the feedback where you can grow the best way you can? And jumping ropes, just like instantaneous feedback for your physical movements.
Yeah,
as soon as you mess up, you're like, oh, my foot was in the way, like how do I continuously do this trick to where I can move my foot and then still land it? And then like, if I did do that and I do land it, how does that make me feel? Did I land it in a way that feels safe? Was I wobbly? Was like, was the form correct? And all of these they translate into like how you run a business, how you raise a kid, you know, how do you do anything is like, is the form well, was it done right? And do you have the right feedback? I don't know.
No, I like that. That's good, man. That's
Yeah.
the feedback. You're right. Feedback is a gift. That's something I heard years ago during when I was at a seminar when I was younger. And yeah, feedback is a gift, and it's something you can take. And with jump rope, it's immediate. Like you said, it's something that happens right away. If one thing is not correct, it's going to immediately give you the answer or the feedback that you need to improve. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Oh, sorry. I would say
Oh,
the good thing about the jump rope too is that, like, you know, sometimes when you get feedback, it's sugar coated, but
yeah.
jump rope gives you feedback based off of how much you put into it, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're using a cross rope really fast, it's gonna give you the feedback that makes you learn real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's gonna give you that bad whip. Yeah, man. Definitely. Yeah. So let me move on to another question here that I've wanted to know because again, of all the different things you can do that you've taught yourself. So what's your favorite number one rope that you've ever used? And then if you have other ones that are tied with it, I mean, you can list those as well.
Um, Man, this is hard. So let's think. So the favorite rope that I use now is the one that I created. And this isn't like some kind of thing to advertise like what I'm building, but
Sure. Yeah.
I'll start off like the first beaded rope I ever got was a rope from buyjumpropes.net, and it was beads, and it was like purple and blue and like these colors. I just like these specific colors, and I used that rope for probably a year. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I eventually ordered a string enforced PVC rope from them as well, and it was like a white PVC one. So those
Yeah.
were probably my original two favorite ropes that like got me really wanting to like create my own rope. Like, hey, I like these a lot, but I want to. There's some things I would want to do to them. There's some things that like I would change, and I want to do that. And so then that leads me to like where I am now and the ropes that I've tried to develop. So like I think Rush has like the legacy rope. It's like a really thick PVC rope, and it's cooler. Like it trains your muscles really well, to use a lighter rope. And so what I've done is I've created the beaded version of that, where I've instead of using 1 inch beads, I found 2 centimeter beads, and then I made them even thicker, so they're heavier. So it's like a really heavy beaded rope. But what it does is, for me, it continuously trains me to like slow down
Mm-hmm.
and to like feel what I'm doing as I'm learning the trick.
Okay.
And to be honest, sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes like for instance, I haven't done like double under tricks in about a year now. And it's because like it's heavy and I could do double under tricks, but it's harder. It takes a lot more energy out of me to do a double under with my rope and to do tricks. So like I just haven't trained them. But like to me, that doesn't bother me because I'm learning like how to do everything without doing double unders first. And like because of the weight of like how they feel, my muscles, like the neuromuscular movements, have developed enough for like I could still do them with like a regular rope or a regular beaded rope while I do doubles, but I just haven't trained with them yet. Um, but so yes, my favorite rope right now is the rope that I designed, my Techne rope. And just so anyone knows and everyone knows, Techne is like an art, like it's an ancient Greek philosophy term for like art. It's like the master of their skill, it's the master of their craft. Like part of what I'm trying to do, like I said, is tie this whole stoic ancient philosophy into jump rope, because it's just something that's like, I don't know, it's like it's going to be my brand. I want kids to learn about philosophy when they're growing up, and jump rope. It's something that doesn't exist, but that's why I'm creating it.
Mm. No, that's good. I had no idea what the name behind your rope was, so that's good to know. And I didn't think to ask, so I appreciate you explaining that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But like so buyjumpropes.net, like those are like my favorite too. But outside of that, honestly, cross ropes, like they really are like, they hold up. Like if fitness was what I was actually, you know what? It's still a cross rope, but they're bolt set. That's like, it's more of like their CrossFit stuff. It's not the big cables. It's thin.
Yeah.
That was my favorite rope. It's like I had the big handles for a while, but like my favorite one was the bolt set. I think it's like $60,
Yeah,
and
dude. That's crazy, man, because that's my favorite cross rope product,
yeah,
hands
yeah, it's
down.
so good. Yeah,
I messaged Dave Hunt about that when I first got it. I said, man, this is the best product that you have that I've
yeah,
tried. It's absolutely amazing. The ball bearings that he has on that is I think they're the best out there in the business. And Buddy Lee's ropes are great, but that bearing system that he has on the bolt is unbelievable.
yeah. It's like a little circle thing too, and like he probably would hate me for saying this, but like you can also just take that cable to like a hardware store, and like you can. And I jumped on concrete and stuff, so like I continuously broke my cable, but you could replace it for pretty cheap. But the handles, hands down, like those things are worth picking up.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you big time. Yeah, it's so funny that you said that because, man, I've been saying that for a long time, and we didn't even know that until we got on this podcast. So that's
Yeah.
wild, man. Yeah. So you were talking about your diet earlier. You said you were doing the ketogenic diet. So walk me through, go into detail about that. What does a normal day of eating look like for you, and what are your go-to foods that you consume on a daily basis?
Yeah, man. So like I mentioned before, like I mentioned before too, like I'm doing keto because one, it's just I just want I just want something new. I get tired of, I don't know. I want to like see how my body feels by putting different fuel in it. You know, like I here's the real answer. I love chips. I love chips so much.
Yeah.
My girlfriend calls them crunchy things. She's like, "Do you want me to get you crunchy things?" I'm like, "You don't even have to ask." Like, and so like the ketogenic diet helps kind of put me in a box for a little bit where I just don't eat chips because like I still stick to it, and like I reward myself by like, I don't know, but the reward is just the diet itself. I get to eat, you know, like fatty things, and like it feels really good. Like carbohydrates make me hungry. When I eat like a little bit of carbs, like within the next 30 minutes to an hour, like I'm still pretty hungry. But like for keto, in the morning, I'll have like lately I'll do like a spicy kind of pork sausage, kale, spinach. I put in chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, and flax seeds. I'll mix in some cheese, and then I'll just eat that. And there's no carbohydrates in it other than I'll even put broccoli in there too. Like I still try to like maintain fiber in greens because like you need to. I'll eat that at like, I don't know, let's say 9 a.m. and I won't eat again until like nighttime at like, you know, like 6, 8 o'clock. Like I'll be held over the whole day because like I'm just like I'm full. Like I'm not craving other things. It's really cool. But also I do snack a little bit, and my snacks typically are pumpkin seeds, and then it's pretty funny, pork rinds. They're like the best snack ever. They're high. They're not really that high in fat, but like there's no carbohydrates. There's a bunch of protein. And to be honest, they're not that good where I have to eat the whole bag. I'll have like 4 of them, and I'm like, that's good, you know, and I'll be done with them. And so they'll last me a little bit longer. But those are like my kind of go-to snacks. And then, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, man, pork rinds are a great keto snack. They have a lot of protein, a lot of fat, and no carbohydrates whatsoever. A lot of them, unless you get one of the flavored ones that they put different sorts of things in them, they'll have no carbohydrates whatsoever. But I mean, even the ones that have the flavor, they might have 1 or 2 grams of carbohydrates per serving. But those are great keto snacks. Yeah, absolutely, man. So that's interesting. So it's 1 meal in the morning, 1 meal at night normally.
Typically, yeah. And so I I feel bad. I don't remember his name. I watched this YouTube video about 2 months ago. He's the author of Fat to Fit, Fit to Fat to Fit. And so, man, I feel bad because I don't remember his name. And anyway, he purposely gained weight to show that he could lose weight. But what he didn't anticipate was like the mental struggle that you have when you have more weight on you. Like he's like being someone who is fit, who knows how to lose weight, who is a trainer, gaining like 80 pounds and then losing it. He's like, oof. The mental stress it takes is actually like, he's like, I am so much more empathetic to the people I train because like I never witnessed that before. And it's like, it's interesting because like I've done that like unintentionally, like throughout my life. I'll gain weight, lose it, gain weight. And like I've been through it a bunch of times. And what was the point I was saying about this? So he inspired me to start doing keto again. And it's mainly just because of just like, it's really just like the agility, like to train your body, like to work in intermittent fasting. It's really cool to like eat once a day and that's it. Like, and it's not even a control thing. It's just like, it feels really cool to just know your body. Cause like a lot of times people mistake like control for like understanding. And like that's an interesting topic, right? Just like when you understand your body, it's not that you're in control of it. You just like, you know, it feels right. And you know, it like would work right for you. And it's cool to like know your schedule and like how your night is going to go, how your week's going to go. And then like you can implement like carb cycling, for instance. I used to do more of like a bodybuilding style workout where like I would build how I looked as opposed to just like being physically fit. And carb cycling is really cool with that. So like on days I want to like work out, you know, my back or my glutes, like I could eat carbohydrates on those days and like really pump in energy. And then like for the next 3 days, I could just like do intermittent fasting and like lean out. And like, it's really just cool to just have like the agility to just like control how your diet works, how your mind works, how your whole body just operates. To me, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. Eating once a day is something I've done for a while as well. I mean, I got it. I think it's great. It makes things a lot more simple if it's something that works for you because you know that it's gonna be tough to overeat as far as your calorie intake because you're eating at the end of the day. And I mean, there's only so much food you can get into your stomach for most people, and it's just a lot more simple too because you're not eating throughout the day. And I don't know about you, but eating throughout the day really makes me tired. My body digesting the food takes a lot of energy. And so it actually makes me more focused when I'm waiting until maybe 18, 20 hours for a fasting window. Yeah, I got that. I remember the first time I ever heard about eating one meal a day was from Stan McChrystal, the retired 4-star general. That's something that he started doing. He's done it. I think he still does it. He's almost 70 now and still in great shape.
Yeah, that's really cool. And to your point, and you might even like reflect on this, when you eat more than once a day or twice a day, like I mean, I noticed when I was dieting more and I would have like little meals, like my mind was always on food. Like it's just kind of frustrating. Like I like, it's nice to just know that I'm only gonna eat once a day, and then like food's just like not in my mind. You know, when I'm on like a more strict regimented diet, like I'm always wondering what I'm gonna eat next. I'm like meal prepped and like it's like there's a regimen to it, and like I like that a lot. Like part of me like to control and like I don't know, like I enjoyed it, but like I will say that now it's nice to just not like really worry about eating that much. It's just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I think it just when I'm learning a lot about like food in general is like the relationship that we have with food and like what that means. Like it's just like I think I'm just building a more positive relationship with like who I am and like the food I eat. Cause like I know that matters. Some people have like a really bad relationship with food. And I think probably internally that's like some kind of physical representation of something else that has to do with their life.
Yeah.
And you got to work through it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Like you were saying earlier in the episode, is different types of nutrition strategies work for different people. Whether
Yeah.
that's how often, whether you're doing intermittent fasting or eating 5 meals a day, or whether you're eating more carbs or you're doing a keto diet. But like you're saying, the important thing is to do experiments and figure out what is best for you. You know,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't, it's funny. I experiment. Yeah, figure out. I have this thing. Oh man, I'm a big fan of just having my own opinion. It like growing up, like, or not growing up, but like I remember when I was in college, I heard people have like opinions about like vegetarians or vegans or like people who just do like the paleo diet. Like everyone just always has opinions. And to me, it's really frustrating because they always have opinions, but they're all just like based off of other people's opinions. It's not like they have an opinion on being a vegetarian because they were one. They just have an opinion of a vegetarian based off of like the 20 things that their friends said. Yeah. They just added those up and then decided to adopt this as their opinion.
True.
So like, I was a vegetarian for a year, and like honestly, it was awesome. Like I get why people do it. I was a vegan for 6 months, and like I get why people do that. Part of why I'm doing keto is just like to get my own opinion, because I'm gonna figure out what works best for me by like my own opinions. You know, like granted, we are influenced by other people. You know, and in fact, that's why I even did keto, because some guy influenced me to do it. But like I still have like my opinion, like my actual empirical data of like, hey, this works, this doesn't. And then I could share that with other people. And that's how, I don't know, that goes around and around. So
no, that's a good way of thinking about things, is by going out and getting the experience yourself, by the empiricism approach, rather than just adopting what other people say without actually going out and doing the work, man. I definitely agree with you on that. As far as workouts, so what kind of workouts do you do these days, and what do they look like?
So lately I've been trying to move into calisthenics more, just like body weight stuff. I'm 5'6" with shoes on. Like I'm not a tall guy. And right now I'm about 180 pounds. I need to lose a little bit, but I'm just a big fan of like just like functional, like endurance. Like CrossFit makes a lot of sense to me. Or not necessarily like to the extreme of CrossFit, but like just the functionality of working out for like endurance and for almost like practicality. Like bodybuilders don't really make much sense to me. And it really kind of boils down to like kind of like the art and form of it, you know, like it doesn't make sense to me to push to, you know, like deadlift 500 pounds, because like when are you ever going to need to do that? Or like I always make this joke with my friends. Like I work out as if I'm training for the zombie apocalypse. I'm just gonna outlive everybody. Like there might be like one big dude who can kill like a bunch of zombies in like one time, but I'm just gonna like outlive them. It kind of reminds me of like there's like a Will Smith quote about like just like how he'll like outlast something. I don't know. Like I just believe like in endurance. Like to me it makes more sense. Like it's almost like enjoying the ride. Like slow and steady wins the race. I'd rather increase my minimum in terms of weight, if you will. But to your point, or like I've just been calisthenics. I've been doing calisthenics, functional fitness, movement, like dance, really kind of flowy stuff. Like for instance, I'll go to the gym and I'll even use machines. Like the other day I was doing like overhead like military press with a machine. And instead of like going up and like resting and coming down and resting, I literally just like pretend like I was flowing, like swimming, because I was like, and I did that for a minute straight. Instead of doing it for reps, I just did it for time. And so like it builds different ways. I don't know. I think it shapes your muscles and like your endurance in different ways. Whereas if you work out traditionally with like 5 sets of this or 4 sets of this. And I think it's all like neural networks and like physical, like in your muscles too.
Oh, nice. What kind of calisthenics are you doing? What specific exercises?
Pull-ups, push-ups. I'm like the weakest pull-upper. Like right now I weigh more than I need to. So like I could do 10 or 12 pull-ups, but like it's a struggle. So I'm working on my muscle ups, and I'm like working on just developing like the dip part of it, the pull-up part of it, and then just kind of the whole thing. But it's taxing. My favorite exercise is like, and this is front squats with kettlebells. Like I'm slowly creeping into the kettlebell juggling kind of crowd.
Oh,
I
wow.
like flipping them and catching them, and like I want to build a program that's like a jump rope kettlebell, like functional fitness kind of thing. I think it's gonna be a
Mm.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at the end of it, you'll be a good dancer. That like everything goes into. I feel like
Oh, man.
if you learn how to use weights and jump ropes, you'll be like a really good dancer. It's pretty funny.
Oh, wow. That's funny. I wasn't expecting that. That was hilarious. That was hilarious, man. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah,
that. But the jump rope and kettlebell actually go well together. They do.
yeah,
They do.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So I think we got time for one more. It's the catch-all question. So the question is, what is your advice to people who are just starting with jump rope and or getting in better shape? What would you tell them if they're having a difficult time and they're about to quit?
Um, man, I would just, part of me would say just like don't quit. That's not that easy to do. Um,
Yeah.
like I would just take it day by day. So like jumping rope, it's like most anything, it's really hard to get down on yourself, because like what happens, I think, in our mind is that when we try something, we immediately just want to be like the person we saw who inspired us to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
we it's almost like we have an ADHD mind where like we already see how we want to be if we were that person, but then we jump rope or we lift a weight and we're like, wait, but that didn't feel or look like I thought it should have. So like
Yeah.
so we get down on ourselves a little bit. And my advice would just be like, and just like be kind to yourself, like be real gentle, like I mean, think of it in terms of like even raising kids, if you will. I don't have kids. I'm just a product of being raised by parents.
Mm-hmm.
And like if like there's like an incubation state, right? And like as you're learning something, just be kind to yourself. Like know that like you're gonna get really good if you push yourself in positive ways. If you do things and you're negative to yourself, then one, you're gonna probably want to quit and you're not gonna develop good form. And like I don't think it'll be the best way for you to grow in whatever you're doing. And
Yeah.
so I would, but like to continue pushing forward, just little goals, like simple, like really, really, really break it down. Like if you're jumping rope, start off with doing like, can you do 5 skips, like at a time? Can you do 5? Then if you do 5, can you do 6? Once you do 6, can you do 10? Set like little bit smaller goals. And when you get to your cap for that, you don't have to necessarily get to 100 skips. You can start moving around. So once you do say 20 skips uninterrupted, can you do 10 skips on each leg? Can you do 5 skips on each leg? And this actually kind of ties back into a little bit of a philosophical psychology thing called reward theory of desire. I think maybe I had mentioned to you this when we initially talked, but why we typically do things sometimes is based off the reward we get from them. Video games are a really good example of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get 10 headshots in this thing and you get like a new gun skin, or you do this and you get this reward. Like we're always desiring and have ambitions for new things because of the reward we get for it. So I would say set that up for yourself, right? And it's not easy to do sometimes, but take some time, build out get like a worksheet and just give yourself little goals and then just build on them and then build on them. And, 2 years later, you might have your own business, like it's really just, it really is all fun jump at the time kind of thing.
No, I love that, man. That's great. The be kind to yourself is the thing that stuck out the most to me. Everything you said, I agree with, but being kind to yourself, because that normally doesn't necessarily come to people's mind when they step off the scale and it's been 10 years since they've worked out, and they don't feel like they deserve to be kind to themselves, but they still can be, as long as they just continue to take it step by step. So
Yeah.
that was great, man.
Yeah. Man, being kind to yourself, like I could even talk about that forever. Cause I would say a big reason why a lot of us aren't where we want to go sometimes is because we weren't kind to ourselves enough in that direction.
Yeah,
Like I know I'm guilty of that, but like when people are kind to me, when people are nice to me, I'm like kind of drawn to them, right? Like they
sure.
pull me in that direction. So if you learn to do that with yourself, like you have like endless possibilities, like what you can achieve. But yeah.
No, that was great, man. Curtis, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This was great. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time, man.
yeah, likewise. I needed this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to connect with like-minded people, and so I really appreciate you coming on, man. Wow, that was an awesome episode. Thank you so much to Curtis for coming on and taking the time out of his busy schedule to join me on the podcast. I had no idea that Curtis knew so much about philosophy and about Stoicism mainly. So that was a pleasant surprise in the middle of the podcast to go down that road and talk about Stoicism, which is one of the central themes and philosophies in my life and has been for the past couple years. So it was awesome to have that in common. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that you continue to get after it, continue to put your health and fitness first. Until next time, I'll see you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, jump rope to freedom. Peace, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.